So do you own a Hyundai Tucson from years 2016 to 2021? And do you want to save some extra money? Sure you do. So in this video, we're going to go ahead and replace the front pads and rotors on this 2021 Hyundai Tucson. This is the same process, like I said, from 2016 to 2021. And if you don't have a Tucson, and if you don't need to replace your brakes, watch the video anyways. So the first step, you're going to want to take this wheel off. I've got a ramp, so I'm going to use it. If you don't have a ramp, you're going to have to use a jack. You're going to want to jack this up. Probably put a jack stand under there if you're into safety and whatnot. On this specific car, the OEM lug nuts are 21. Okay, so here's what it looks like with the wheel off. I'll just give you a good idea here now of exactly what we're going to do. You're going to come in here first with these two Phillips screws here that hold the rotor on. Take those off first. They're easier to come out right now when this is all still together. Next, we're going to come over here. We're going to take out 1 and 2 14mm bolts. These are for your slaughter pins. And after you remove your 14mm bolts for your slaughter pins, you're going to want to come back here and you got 2 17mm bolts holding your bracket on. Sometimes these are on pretty good. If you give this a little light tap with the hammer, sometimes it do help them become loose. If you strip them out, the easiest thing I find to do is just go and get yourself a drill bit and drill the heads right off the screws. But we got our Phillips bit here now. This car is pretty new. This is a 21, so I think they'll come out. One and 2. And I know before you go in comments complaining that the audio sucks, I know it is echoey in here, but I had a mic, I dropped it, and I broke it. I'm currently waiting on a new one coming in mail. So hopefully within the next couple of videos, I'll have a new mic. Now we got our 14mm wrench right here. You could use a wrench, a socket, you could use what you like. 14mm bolts right here, gotta come out. One, 2, 14mm bolts. And you can remove this part of your caliper. Now that your caliper is off, you gotta push this piston back. I just use a big pair of channel locks. You can use a C-clamp. You can also put a screwdriver in by your rotor and pry on it before you take this off. But I find this is the easiest way to do it. Now, we're going to just lodge this down over here. I just got it lodged down here on the control arm. It's not hanging. That'll be all right there. A little flat top screwdriver here. You get 2 of these spring clips. You're going to want to take those out next. As you can see here, these pads are seasoned anchors. So we're going to take the whole anchor off, leave the pads in there for now, and we can knock them out with a hammer when we get this anchor off. So I got my 17mm socket, put it on my gun. You can use a ratchet for this, works the same. We got our 2 anchor bolts out. Give that a little knock and just haul off your rotor. So this specific car here is a 21 with about only 50,000 kilometers on it. It's in really good shape. As you can see here around the hub, there's 0 rust on it, which is amazing. If there was rust around here, you definitely want to clean that off with a grinder, piece of sandpaper, or whatever you got. So these pads are seasoned the anchors, and pretty much all we're going to do now is just kind of knock them in. One. And 2. We've got our clips here in the anchors. Just pop those off. So let's look at this anchor right now. If you look here where those clips go, you can see all that rust in there. It's on both sides. Next step, to clean the rust off of these anchors. So you can sand the rust off of these anchors with sandpaper, obviously, a grinder. The best thing to use will be a sandblaster, but I don't have one. You probably don't have one either. So you're going to want to get yourself some sandpaper or the grinder and give her. You're definitely going to want to wear all your PPE if you're into that. I've got my safety glasses on this time because I literally had a piece of metal scooped into my eye last week. Only one way to learn something, that's the hard way. Well, you get the drift. I'm gonna continue on, get these anchors all cleaned up, and I'll be back when they're clean. Okay, so I got here is a little bit of anti-seize. I put this around the hub. Do not get this on your lug nuts. And what I do is get it in those holes for the screws as well. So the next guy who does these brakes will get them screws out too. So the next thing you want to do, grab your rotor, get some brake clean. Just give it a good bit of spray. And you're going to want to clean these rotors off. While these rotors are in your package, there's a little film of grease on them, which helps them from rusting. Now, you're going to want to line up your screw holes with your screw holes on the hub. Take your two screws and your screwdriver, put them back in. A lot of guys don't even put these back, they'll just chuck these in the garbage, but I find they help the rotor stay good and tight to the hub while you put the pads and the anchor back on. So I always put them back in. You don't need to torque the Jesus out of these, just snug them up enough with your screwdriver, that'll be good. Now you want to take your anchor that you just cleaned the rust off of. Let's put some anti-seize right here on the anchor before you put your clips back in. And I also live on an island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So we use salt on the roads in the wintertime, and we're also surrounded by salt water. Our vehicles here normally rust away to nothing. Now, we've got new clips. You're going to take your clips, just put them on. These clips seem to fit very well, but some aftermarket clips fit like shit. So don't throw away your old clips until you get this part done, because you might have to reuse them. Then we haul out our slaughter pins. Do not put anti-seize on these slaughter pins. I mean, you can do what you like, but I wouldn't. What I do is get some actual brake grease. Just smear some on. Make sure they're moving nice and free. We'll put our anchor on now. So I'm just going to snug them down with the gun right now, and I'll go ahead and torque them up after. For real though, you're definitely going to want to torque these to spec. You look up those numbers yourself. We're going to want to get our pads. You notice the difference between these two pads? This one has a little clip on it. That clip goes in. The one with no clip goes out. Now this is pretty controversial to some people, but I lubricate the ears on my pads because I don't want those seizing in the anchors. And like I said, I live in a pretty rusty place. Everything here rusts away to nothing. If you live in, like, I don't know, Arizona or something, then maybe you won't want to do this. Simply just slide it in place. And if you clean up your anchor and your clips are fitting good, these pads will go in there really easily. If you didn't clean that rust off and you just walked on those new clips, you will not get those pads in. The grease on this one. We got our new supplied spring clips. Simply just put them in the holes that are already in the pads. These help to keep the pads off the rotor when you're not on the brakes. Like so. If you're doing the brakes on your Tucson, maybe these were already took off by a previous owner and chucked in the garbage, or maybe you don't have new ones. It's no big deal. You don't need to put these in there. And remember, we pushed our piston back, so you should just be able to slide this right on. Got our two 14mm slider pin bolts. Simply put them in. Get your 14mm ratchet or a wrench or whatever you got. And snug them down. You're definitely going to want to torque all this to spec. Click, click. So once you got it all done, put together, just go over it, give it a little once over, look at all your bolts, make sure they're all good and tight. And then you can put your wheel on. If this is a job that you think you can tackle, give her. This is not a hard job. Pay attention to what you're doing. Pay attention to what you're taking apart, and you can put it back together. It's not rocket appliance. Now I'm going to show you some magic. Yeah! I bet you didn't know I was a magician. Definitely make sure that you torque all this off the spec. Whatever the spec is. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Also, before you drive this car out of the shop or after you do your brake job, make sure you pump up those brakes.